In a world where everyone has a sporting opinion, you have tuned into the one place where the opinions are always correct. Sometimes. This is the LTV Sportscast. And now, your host, Leighton. Welcome, sports fans, to the LTV Sportscast. I'm your host, Leighton, and with me in studio today is Big J, Jeremy, and connecting remotely via Skype, we have the killer man, Andreas. Now, Jeremy, last season was your first season into the FPL. How did you do?
How's it, guys? It was my first season playing FPL. Finished 1,400 somewhat in the world.
Is that, like top 1%?
Well, 7 million people playing, so you can get your calculator out and work that out. I probably think it's about a 0.3% in the world.
Wow.
18 in South Africa, and
Sure.
I ended up winning the 100,000 Rand Bet Exchange Cash League, with the 60K first prize there.
Okay.
And one other cash league. So total prize money, first time playing.
First season.
First season.
Wow.
Beginner's luck. So I said to somebody earlier, this is my Leicester, Claudio Ranieri type of season, so don't expect me to do much. But I'm obviously trying to keep a low profile now after last season.
Okay, so are you going to tank like Claudio tanked? Or are you going to try follow that up with another top season?
Well, in all honesty, I want to finish my aim for the season is to finish number 1 in South Africa. I finished 18, and I think the guy that beat me was about 40 to 50 points ahead of me.
Sure.
So the aim is one in SA.
Wow. Okay, cool. And then Andreas, you've played it religiously last 10 years or so? And top performance in those 10 years?
247 in the world. Before I get onto my last 10 years performing, Jeremy, that's what all hustlers say. I hope to do better next year. I hope to do well. We know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get yourself into all money leagues so you can clean people out. Don't worry, I'll be there also. My aim's also to be the number 1 in South Africa. So bring it on, boy. Leighton, last 10 years, I finished 247 as my best ranking, probably in the top 5,000 3 or 4 times. And didn't have my greatest year last year, but consistently in the top 100,000. That's not the top 50 like some other people, yeah. But hey, we try. I enjoy it. I love it. And I'm happy to give some insight into what I enjoy about the game. And if I can help those people like one-year wonders, Claudio Ranieri there, maybe he'll get some advice from us veterans too.
Sure. Okay.
Lots of shots been fired early on. We'll wait for Sunday and see what the Gunners got to say about that.
Yeah. When I load up this podcast, I'm obviously going to have to click the explicit content because I see it's getting rough early. But before we get into this week's show, can we just dive into last weekend? Well, not dive so much, just more a quick recap. Did any of you guys watch the Moto GP?
So I'm sure you're going to talk about Vinales and the crash.
Vinales and the crash, man. That man has kahunas. Jumps off a bike at 230 kilometers an hour. Bike goes off into the air barrier, bursts into flames. Michael Bay movie. It was amazing.
Okay, having a look. Go, Andreas.
Yeah, not really a MotoGP guy, but I caught that and it was unbelievable. I think the getting off the bike is the quickest and safest thing for these guys. I mean, driving at 300. Well, driving at 300, what's jumping off a bike at 230 for them? I mean, to be on a bike going like that, putting your knees on and scraping like that, for me, is insane to start with. So to jump off a bike for them, I mean, it's not the first time he's probably done it. They probably practiced that.
I don't know if they practice it. I know they take corners and they go sliding, but when you're on the bike and you're going, okay, look, I'm just gonna hop off. The bike and I have got 2 different destinations. We've decided that we're going 2 different directions. No, that was something else, man.
He's probably thinking if I jump off now, I can still win the full MotoGP by the end of the year.
But just the nonchalance in the way he stood up, and just brushed it off as if it was off take his training wheels on his bicycle as a 6-year-old or 5-year-old. He just brushed it off. Amazing.
Yeah. No, it was tremendous. And then obviously after the restart. There was, before that, Alex Rins was leading the race for most of the pod, and then restart comes around, new tires on, massive fight in the front. Well, really a dogged fight between Paul Espargaro and Jack Miller, and then last corner the guys are pushing each other. Miguel Oliveira comes through, pips both of them, takes his first Moto GP victory. That was absolutely fantastic. So do yourself a favor. If you haven't watched it, sport fans, go out there, watch the final lap of the Moto GP. It was tremendous.
Is it also not the first ever Portuguese winner, Moto GP?
Yeah, 100% it is. Absolutely fantastic. So big up to Miguel Oliveira. Tremendous. Okay, then quickly on the golf. Any of you guys watch the golf? Was it just me again?
Yeah, I saw Dustin Johnson.
Pillar to post, eh?
So they actually, he actually plays the PlayStation games and realizes that they've actually made golf too hard in the PlayStation games.
Yeah, I've heard something like that. Because his iron play in real life is a lot easier than it is on the PlayStation.
Proper champion, Dustin Johnson. I still think he's going to hold that number one spot for the next 4 or 5 years.
Really?
I do. I think he wants it again. He's seen it. He's got it back. He said he's going to try and keep it for as long as possible again. And I think he's the one guy that can consistently go very low. We know Kupka in the majors is just unbelievable, but Johnson is just consistent. And I think he's going to show that consistency.
And what about that Daniel Berger? Since return from COVID, he's been fantastic. Amazing.
Yeah, but I think it'll be short-lived. I think he's good. He's good. There's so many good ones, but I can't see past, as I said, Johnson, Kupka, McIlroy, and I'm the first one to say I think Woods won't win another major. I know many people think he is going to come back and win, but I don't think he will. I think he's done.
Sure. Okay.
You just deflated Leighton by saying that, because I know Leighton for a while, and Tiger's the man.
Tiger is the man. There's no doubt about it. And
no, there's no doubt. But I think he's had his time.
And after the past Sunday at the Northern Trust, he came out there. He had a little bit of that Tiger fire in. Now, if he wants to make it into next week's Tour Championship, FedEx finals kind of thing, he's got to finish probably in the top 4. It's got to be. How many shots
did he end behind the winner?
Dude, yeah, I'm talking about his Sunday. I'm not talking about the whole Northern Trust. So it wasn't the best tournament. I think he finished 38th position or something.
But generally, that's when Tiger pops up. Is when you write him off and you don't expect him, and then he's gonna come and surprise us. So, but that's the thing. So post his comeback, he's had that erratic streak. So he has quite a few poor tournaments, and then all of a sudden, there's the top of the leaderboard. So I'm sure you're hoping for one of those returns.
Obviously, massive Tiger fan. So we'll see what happens there. Currently, I think they're actually playing right now, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. Right, and then obviously the last thing on the list, Champions League final from this past weekend. Did anyone see the second half? Because I think I fell asleep. It was that boring. First half, fantastic. First 35 minutes, PSG looked like they were in it. After that, the game turned into a lull. Bayern got the goal eventually, and then, well, yeah, it was done and dusted. Very boring final.
Yeah, from our side, like all finals, so much to play for, so much on the line. No one wants to make a mistake. Everyone's performance is more about what they can control rather than taking the game by the scruff of the neck. Everyone just feels each other out and sees who's going to make the first mistake, see what they can take. I mean, you saw it when Bayern scored. After Bayern scored, PSG must have had 2-3 chances. I mean, why not just play like that from the start? Play like that and maybe score those goals and go up and make it a game against a Bayern team like that. I mean, if you're going to sit back with that Bayern team and let them score first, there was only going to be one winner.
I think there was a lot of comments as well going on social media around Neymar's BMT and how and the reactions post. I mean, once that final whistle had gone, I mean, the tears and the way Neymar had carried on. In fact, coming into the ground, he came in with his massive Bose system ready to celebrate. So there was a lot of pictures going around as in Neymar's getting ready and preparing for the celebration. Do you regularly follow the memes? Do you enjoy them? So with FPL Twitter, it's very difficult to avoid it because the FPL community can be a bit savage. So they bite into these guys hard. So yeah, then they memed him. They memed the hell out of Neymar over the weekend. That that buy-in side, I mean, what they did to Barca in the quarterfinals, I mean, that it was expected that they would have to. On a side note, it's a pity the Ballon d'Or's been cancelled this year, because I mean, for after so many years without Ronaldo and Messi, Lewandowski had probably the full shot at taking it and winning it by merit as such. And I'm disappointed for Robert.
So you're not wrong. He hadn't full merited. He was robbed. He would have taken it. It was actually, I cannot believe that they are not going to give it to him anyway. A load of nonsense, because the conditions over COVID-19, everyone played a full season. Everyone completed a Champions League season. Yeah. Why can't there be a winner, number one? But to go back, Jeremy, what you said about Neymar, not my favorite player, but I think he can't win. If he cries afterwards and shows too much emotion about losing, he's a crybaby. If he doesn't and he wins and he doesn't show anything, then he's a bad winner. So I kind of feel for the guy. I mean, the weight of expectation, being paid 222 million to take you to a club like PSG, it would have been a good thing for his name to win it and actually get that monkey off his back, almost like a Messi and Ronaldo type thing situation.
Yeah, and with the recent headlines of this week, there's conversations that Messi had given him a call to say, join me at Man City. So, yeah, with that breaking news with Messi putting in a transfer request to get out of Barcelona, that'd be interesting. I don't know where Pep's going to get the money from and how they're going to survive the financial fair play rules. But I'm sure they'll find a way.
They avoid those rules quite successfully, and or punishments of them.
So yeah, because when that came up in the court of arbitration, the bottom line is Man City is bigger than UEFA because of the backing of the Qatari government. That's Abu Dhabi government. They are bigger than UEFA. So they were whatever UEFA is going to come at, they could have big enough team of lawyers to go and buy their way out of it. So yeah, I knew that ban wasn't going to stand.
I almost believe it might just happen, but that I'm the idealist when it comes to something like that. I want to see them get punished.
We live in a capitalist world, and whoever has the most money there seems to win, especially in football. So this financial fair play stuff and the complexity of it, it was almost trading in players and trading off investing in players, almost like it was a stock market. So you buy in. I listened through some of how they put this together. You almost in a 16-year-old or 17-year-old, you're getting people that's going to come and fund this prior to signing a contract. So it's quite a complex thing that they've managed to put together to beat the system. But apparently every club does it.
So Jeremy,
do it better than others.
I'm just going to add in, but I'm going to try not knock them, because as soon as I knock them as a Liverpool fan, you're being biased. But I would like to reiterate one thing that Jose Mourinho said, and I mean, he's not my favorite either at the moment, when he said that that's fine, but if you're guilty, you go to prison or you pay a fine. If you're not guilty, why do you still pay a fine?
100% correct.
Yeah, but I mean, again, on another note from what happened this week, Harry Maguire. So same, I think he's got a suspended sentence, 21-month suspended sentence for that bribing in Mykonos.
What is his nickname? Harry, do you know who I am, Maguire? Because that was his line, wasn't it?
Yes. I've got a lot of money. So yeah, so it looks like footballers and the football fraternity, Messi should have done jail time. Sorry, Andreas, but yeah, he's got away with it. So everyone, when it comes to this in the football community, they somehow manage to escape actually doing time for the crime.
Yeah, I do dispute that. It's not sorry, Andreas. Ronaldo, Messi, all the top guys in Spain have faced tax evasion, and I think the Spanish government has just tried to milk them for as much as they could, which is fine. It's I think that's almost another reason why he wants out. But to go back to Messi, guys, I think we've got a big smokescreen coming here. I think it's a political game for Messi to oust this president and build another team around him to start a new era for them, because he earns 60 million euros a year, and I don't even think Man City can afford that.
Oh, look, I think Jay and I were speaking about this a little bit before you joined the cast. We discussed the fact that Messi is in charge of that club for a large part.
So early on there was fans breaking into the Camp Nou a couple of hours ago. So there's video footage of fans going in there to go and Bartholomew must go kind of chance. It was in Spanish, so I couldn't interpret what they were saying. However, Andres, they've said that Messi's agreed to personal terms with Man City. As for I think it was at 7 o'clock, he says they've agreed to personal terms. He's going to court to try and get the June free transfer contract that he signed changed because the season was extended. And his dad, Jorge, flew into Manchester 2 days ago. So it's compared to all the bluffs and the smoke screens that they've run before, this is the most legit. And he's kind of broken the internet, eh? Everywhere you turn and look.
No, I've seen the same thing. So, Jeremy, there's two things here. There's two trains of thought here. More the hopeful thought that he's not joining Man City as a Liverpool fan, because I really want us to win the title. It's our time now to win the title for the next 3-4 years. Maybe not every year, but 3-4 out of the next 5-6. If he comes, I don't see that happening with
the current squad.
And I just see Messi changes things for everyone. I'm not just what Leighton said is not untrue. He is the most complete footballer of our generation. That says nothing wrong about what Ronaldo is. It's just that he will transform that team and just get them more clinical. As clinical as they are already, he will transform them. And it will make me sad. So my hope is that he goes to Italy. I will just say that being a Liverpool fan and seeing so many great players that we were supposedly going to sign, and just to be disappointed by the transfer news, I will only wait and see when Messi is sitting in that sky blue shirt will I believe that he's a Man City player.
Fair enough.
He's going to mess my FPL up. That's all I'm saying.
Imagine what he's going to cost, 16 million.
I saw some memes of it being 20, some of it saying 14.
I think you guys have got it wrong. I think it's 700 million. Wasn't that it?
Fantasy, Leighton, fantasy.
Well, 700 million for a footballer. It sounds like fantasy to me anyway.
And wouldn't that be sad? Just the last thing on Messi. Wouldn't that be sad? What that man has done for Barcelona Football Club, for them to go and hold that over his head now and not let him leave would be catastrophic.
Okay. Well, I've heard Koeman said he doesn't want him. All his privileges has been revoked. So there was again a tweet that came out that Koeman said when Messi returns, all of his privileges, I don't know what privileges they're referring to, have been revoked. But it's quite harsh.
So basic things like team selection, training for the day, the usual stuff, player bonuses, all the things that he dominates.
And I'm sure Messi can't be happy because him and Suarez seem to have such a good relationship.
He's been asked to leave, hasn't he?
Yes. So I mean, unless there's a turnabout there, Messi's most likely out.
Jeremy, I would like you guys to answer this question. We always go back to how footballers are not loyal or where their loyalty lies, or is he walking away from a big mistake? How much more loyalty should Messi show Barcelona? Like, people don't realize that they were rebuilding 2-3 times and he stayed with them. He could have gone wherever he wanted. Like, if he wants to leave, he should be allowed to leave for free. At 33 years old, he's given that club 20 years. He's given them their best years, their top goal scorer, top assist, most trophies they've ever won. Let him go and actually bow down to him. Let him go and the right way.
Him? What?
Yeah, they're never going to see a player of his caliber ever again. They should appreciate the fact that he was able to.
So you're leaving, and we must praise you now. I don't
praise him for what he did.
Yeah,
it's like saying, Leighton, that's like saying a CEO who has turned a company from $1 million to a multi-billion rand company wants to leave, and he's not allowed to because he wants to leave them. Praise him for what he did. Don't always hold back that we need more and more and more. Where does the world come to if he has to? They are demanding that he has to stay to have the privilege of it. If he can't, if he doesn't think he can do more, and he's not treated well, and he's not treated right, let him go.
Yeah, but you see, the difference is as long as there's contracts in place, that governs the relationship of how it is a business relationship. So it's not just about emotional feeling. You can go or you can't go. We have to look at the one thing that we did sign, because there's good money that was spent on him. It's not like he didn't get paid for that time. So as long as they sort out the contract thing and everything is fair, then kudos to whoever gets him afterwards. And then
a last point on the contract thing, then I'm going to interrupt you then. Last thing on the contract thing. Do you think Barcelona has paid more for Messi in terms of wages, or has Messi brought Barcelona more money in terms of shirts and supporters and royalties and stuff like that? Let's think about that for a second.
Well, Barcelona get it as a club, not as a single player.
Why did they get into the club, though?
Look,
because they had the most successful player in the world playing for them for the last 10 years.
Can Messi win everything by himself, or does he need people around him?
He absolutely needs people around him, but with him gone...
Is any player bigger than the club?
In this case, I think yes.
I'm gonna have to agree with Andreas on that. I think the one point that Andreas made that I find controversial is that what won't Barcelona give Messi in terms of what he wants, in terms of his happiness and his choices at the club. I think he's probably second to the club president currently in decision making.
So you think he's been ill-treated?
Not at all. Who would ill-treat Messi at Barcelona? So that's the point that I was trying to challenge there, is that I don't think he'd be ill-treated there. I think probably toys have been thrown out the cot. He wants everything his way. And whether one player should have that in a team sport.
And I don't believe
so. Andres is right. No. Yeah, he's built Barcelona post Ronaldinho. However, in a team sport, should one man have all that power?
The answer is no. So, the answer will always be no.
Well, you guys the Liverpool guys have a young number 66 who seems to be going down that route as well.
We have Jurgen Klopp. He makes the decisions. He's the man in charge, and he can bench Alexander-Arnold anytime he likes. But he won't because, well, we need him. Right, okay. Last thing before we hop off the Champions League and all those things and that segue into Messi's drama. One season ago, English teams dominated Europe. Last season, well, that just ended. English teams didn't do so well in Europe. Do we see any big English teams showing in this season coming for Europe?
Well, when I looked at the stats, so the teams that did better than the others, they seem to have had post-COVID. They've had either the league was cancelled, with the French teams going through deep in the competition, as well with the Germans finishing earlier. So the workload that the English teams carried on now through into the finals now was a lot higher compared to the other leagues. So I think with the COVID restart and it being that knockout phase in both Portugal and Germany, I think it's going to be a bit different. It should revert to the norm. I see Liverpool coming back. I see Man City coming back. I'm sure Pep's going to put another 500 million into the club to try and
a Messi.
that
changes.
It's either 500 million in one player or 500 million rebuilding squad. That's kind of what it's going to turn out to be in terms of his wages. I agree with Jeremy wholeheartedly. I think the club's finishing earlier. I see English teams dominating again next year. I think the two Italian teams, Inter Milan and Juventus, will give it a good run as well. And Real Madrid, just with Zidane, just don't know where to go when it comes to Champions League. They don't know if they're ever beaten. So I think the old top 8 will actually be fighting for it next year again, if I'm honest. And I think City will finally get over the line. I don't know if it will be next year, but I think they're going to put all their eggs into that basket before he leaves.
Yeah, that is their holy grail right now to achieve, is that Champions League. What about United? They're back in the Champions League?
Yeah, I've been impressed with them. The last playing Fantasy League, you realize how good and potent that front three is. With Pogba and Fernandes and Matic in that midfield, they've actually got good stability. I think they're one or two very good defenders away from a great squad. It hurts me to say that, but their front three was on fire come the end of last season. I think they scored more goals than Liverpool's front three, and nearly on par with City's front three. So to do that, you must be doing something right. And they were undefeated. And just with the Europa League game, for the last 17, 20 games, undefeated.
Andres, are you counting all the penalties?
You know, I always laugh at them, and I mean, being a Liverpool fan, I have to give the guys grief when it comes to penalties. But it just shows you how many times they're getting into people's boxes now, and how many penalties they're actually winning because of their offensive play. So, I mean, I remember when we had Luis Suarez, people used to say Liverpool just get penalties because Luis Suarez drops. He's turning and twisting all over the place. It is almost impossible to mark the person. And now with VAR and all the extra officials, I mean, penalties are going to be the new top scorer.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Now, apparently there's going to be an amendment to VAR whereby there seems to be more penalties coming in the season ahead. So, yeah, I look forward to that.
But now, when you say changes to the VAR, does that mean that whole blatant and obvious error? I mean, this is like Martial standing on, I can't remember which defender's leg it was. He falls over. United get the penalty. Where does the blatant and obvious error come in?
Yeah, Leighton, United's been getting penalties for the last 10, 15 years, and that's probably a lot from Sir Alex Ferguson's time, so that hasn't changed much. So I believe what's going to happen is they're going to give the attacker more of the benefit going forward and penalize the defenders. I still want to see this holding, especially with defenders grabbing the attacker in the box. I want to see that out of the game because it stops the game from being free-flowing and free-scoring.
When does football become a non-contact sport?
Not to that level.
Jeremy, I'm on Leighton's side, yeah? It's exactly that. We see the holding of the defenders on the attackers. The attackers also holding. I played football for many years, and if you take that away and that type of grappling and whatever is, for me, it's quite easy. If you're going to blow it for a free kick, blow it for a penalty. But if you're going to make it soft, like he says, then make it a non-contact sport and don't make it the football we know and love.
Strong words. I used to play a striker up front, and I don't want.
That's why you said what you said.
And you should be some sort of centre back defender, holding midfielder. I can see that. So yeah, from a centre forward point of view, you don't want them touching you. So but yeah, I think if VAR becomes more lenient, as they say it's going to, there's going to be more penalties come this season. So from an FPL point of view, you want to have most of the penalty takers in your squad. Earlier on, we discussed Bruno Fernandes, and when you register your team, you're not sure what to do with Bruno. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Do you get him in? Well, we'll talk more about FPL a little bit later. I just want to know if we get him in early, because if you don't and prices fluctuate, I've still got to figure this whole thing out. Does his price go up immensely before the second
Leighton,
week?
You get him from day -1. Is what we're telling you.
Okay, that's what you're telling me.
I don't have him. I plan not to have him for the first few games. So
you plan to fall behind from the first few games?
Well, so the one thing. So just on that note, whenever United does well from an FPL point of view, if you don't have them in your squad, you get hurt, and that's what happened to me. I could have finished a lot higher overall. Post-lockdown, everyone captain Fernandes game after game, and that's where the big change happened. So when United does well, I do poorly in FPL.
Okay, but you're not necessarily a United hater because you support the real United?
Of course, there's only one, and they're up there in the northeast, and that's the Magpies. So yeah, what a turbulent time for us. Mr. Mike Ashley's still there. We can't wait to get rid of him. And when that happens, there's rumor that a Singapore consortium could be coming on board. And guess who's going to be the coach if they come on board?
Don't tell me the Allen man.
The greatest Premier League striker in the history of the Premier League.
Okay.
Alan Shearer.
Sure.
So as much as Andreas loves Messi, Alan Shearer is my guy. So I used to be a Blackburn boy back in the day, with Shearer, Sutton, and Sherwood, and when Alan moved, and he almost went to United, and when he went to the right United, thank God. And yeah, since then, so people now I give my age away because people are like, why the hell do you support Newcastle? Because what have they done? And I remind them of Philippe Albert, David Ginola, the 6-1, 5-1, the 5-1 thrashing of United. I was still at school. And I remind United supporters about that.
Okay, fair enough.
Jeremy, I just have to say one thing quickly. Messi is actually not my favorite player of all time. My favorite player of all time is Diego Maradona, and then it's Messi. And there's a trend to it, is that I'm an Argentinian football supporter. Okay. So I love the Argentina national team. But there's only one real love for me, and that is my team, Liverpool. They come ahead of anyone and everything. So this year for me is
Liverpool,
my ultimate.
The family.
No, it's my family, it's my kids, it's Liverpool, and no other club. So seeing every single other club do badly is perfect for me.
So nightmares of Demba Ba for you in Chelsea.
Big nightmares. But now they're gone because we've won it, we've done. I'm happy. Those nightmares are gone for me. And I must tell you that I got so much joy from that second leg where we gave Barcelona 4-0 and Robinson was a bit cheeky to the best player of all time. That for me just shows my loyalties lie with Liverpool. I could not be happier to see Messi losing so badly that night.
Fantastic.
So the bookies have Manchester City as favourites to take it this season, and I think it's going to happen.
You think? Okay, cool. But we'll talk more about the Premier League, the actual expectations. We're going to get into that actually next weekend or next week's recording. Okay, let's quickly talk about the weekend ahead. So what we're going to do, if you're listening to this podcast, and this is the first podcast, we're going to land up giving 2 segments out. One will be the whole show, and then there will be a football segment, which we're actually going to get into now for the upcoming weekend. Right, so Community Shield this weekend, Arsenal versus Liverpool. So if you've been onto our channel's Twitter feed, that's at LTV_Sportscast, SPORTS cast, you will see that there is a poll out there who's going to win, Arsenal or Liverpool. So, quick predictions first, and then we're going to discuss the game. Jeremy?
Watching Arsenal to the back end and watching Liverpool. So, I've watched the games. I've watched all the games. I've almost, as a Liverpool fan, I kind of watched it because of my FPL interest and Arsenal. There's a certain passion that Arsenal has now under Arteta, especially post-restart. And Liverpool's still on the beach. They are still enjoying and basking in the glory of that magnificent season for you guys. So I believe Arsenal should take it. They seem more hungrier, and the squad seems. Liverpool doesn't have much to prove.
Okay, Andreas.
Jeremy, Liverpool men against Arsenal boys, 3-1 Liverpool.
Okay, so we're going high scoring. I'm gonna though. I do want to point out, Jeremy. I was reading an article. Jordan Henderson says the conversation with Klopp has got nothing to do with last season, nothing to do with the holiday. It was kind of, how is it? Did you have a good time? Cool, let's get back into work. I think Arsenal have won it 4 times in the last 7 years, or 3 times in the last 7 years. The Community Shield, I think, and the last time Liverpool won was as far back as 2006. It might have been that far.
I think Liverpool are a different machine under Klopp. To get that many points in the last 2 seasons and lose so few games, I honestly think it's the first time in a long time where the preseason stuff doesn't bug me. I'd actually rather they lose, draw, try the things they want to do in preseason, because I think we'll come out firing on all cylinders. I think they're ready. There's a new dimension. They've got the smell of winning now. They've got trophies, and I think they're going to want more of that. So for those people that put City as favourites, bring it on, because I think Liverpool are ready.
Sure. We'll get into the Premier League just now. More about the Community Shield. The reason why I think possibly Liverpool will take this, or most likely, high-scoring game for sure. But one season after we fell out of Champions League, we came back, we won it the next season. We fell short on the Premier League, and then we came back and won it the next season. Last season, we fell short on the Community Shield in penalties. Does Liverpool come back and win it? I think so, but do we all agree it's going to be high scoring? Are we on the same page on that one, or do you think low scoring for it?
So personally, I think probably so. There's Saliba that Arteta's brought in at the Gunners, and now there's a new signing, Gabriel. I don't know if he's arrived yet, whether he'll play on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So Arteta's looking to strengthen defense for Arsenal. So I think 2-1 to the Gunners.
2-1 Gunners.
Aubameyang.
Both goals.
I'll stick with my 3-1. That's if Aubameyang is still at the club, by the way. But I'll stick with my 3-1, and I think Brewster comes off to score 2 late goals.
Wow.
Sure. Okay. That's a brave call. I know. Okay, so look, who's not playing this weekend for Liverpool? Joel Matip is out. Jordan Henderson is out. Chamberlain is out, and Trent might not be playing either.
I think Liverpool are at full strength, actually. I think, in terms of our normal back 4, maybe Trent out, but it will be the same 3 from the left, Robinson, Van Dijk, and Gomez, with Alisson in goals, the normal midfield 3, and Salah, Mane and Firmino up top. So I don't see us not being ready for it, and I think Klopp is going to use the first 60 minutes to get ready for the next week's game.
Okay. Well, so down to me. Like I said, I think Liverpool are going to win it. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think, again, like you have said, people are going to be trying things. I don't know how much of the big players will be playing. I think Gabriel Martinelli, he's also injured as well.
He is, yes.
Mustafi's injured. Caleb Chambers is injured. Pablo Mari is injured. Guendouzi and Ozil, well, they've fallen out of favour, so I don't know how strong necessarily Arsenal will be. But it is always an attractive game to watch. So I think we're in for a highlight.
Guys, let's not forget why we watched the first game of the season. To be reminded that English football is back.
Okay. Yes.
So just on that note, so with regards to FPL, and that's what I'm all about. Last season, I hadn't watched much English football, and once I'd registered to play FPL, I said, and I squizzed at the Charity Shield, and I saw the way Sterling was running in, and I captained him in the first game week after not watching English football for 5 years.
Yeah, I can understand. As a Newcastle supporter, it must be tough.
And Raheem hat-trick. Raheem hat-trick with the captaincy, and that was my season kicked off. So Community Shield is a good gauge, yes, and in terms of looking at who starts and what you want to do, because there's two of the top 6 teams playing in that. Well, not Arsenal last season, but considered the big 6 in England. 2 of them, and you'll be able to find 1 or 2 gems in that. So we're the whole world, and I'm sure Andreas had captained Salah. I captained Sterling during that. And I got Sterling twice with 2 hat-tricks the last season.
I did actually captain Salah. I remember it was against Norwich at home, new team coming up, and Salah did get me a goal and assist. Yeah. So I remember it fondly. But hey, it is what it is. We'll get into that later. I agree with you. The Community Shield does let you see which players are going to start, who's starting in different positions. Maybe you see a player like Nketiah, like last season, starting up front right through the middle at 4.5, and you think, wow, okay, if I can't afford Aubameyang, let's get this boy in because he'll get the odd goal and assist. So we'll see something like that. You're right. With Liverpool, I mean, there's no secrets with Liverpool, unfortunately, because Klopp picks pretty much the same team, which I like. And that's why many people stick with Liverpool players in their team, because you know they're going to play 90 minutes.
Just on that, they're becoming a bit of a dad's team, but hey, the age is not coming through. So we're still sitting with Sadio, Salah, and Firmino up top. Minamino coming in. I haven't seen much from him. Origi's just to come off the bench, and we're waiting for Thiago to see whether you guys complete that deal. That would be the game changer that Liverpool need. If Thiago doesn't come, there's a bit of a tiredness to the Liverpool team as an unbiased observer. So it's difficult for the two of you both being Liverpool Scouse boys. But there's a bit of a tiredness that I've seen, and that game against Man City, I mean, no champion should have been obliterated like that. So I know we were in party mode and they were celebrating, but that took the shine off the...
You say so, but if we go back there and do remember the beginning of that game, because I remember feeling quite sour about it at times, that Liverpool missed a lot of the early chances. It was there for them. Yeah. Poor finishing. 1 or 2 of those chances went in.
The first 20 minutes was a different game, but then thereafter, when City turned it on, Liverpool looked shot, and I see that carrying through. That is why my prediction for Sunday is there's a bit of fatigue in the team, and it's been a short turnaround time with the Premier League break. It hasn't been as long as previous seasons. Yeah. So that's why.
But FA Cup finished after the
Jeremy. You're not wrong, by the way, when looking at our front three. I really believe we need another player just to fill that void, to give them a rest every now and again. However, having said that, all 3 of them are at the peak of their powers right now. I don't think Salah, Mane, or Firmino are going anywhere. If anything, I think they're going to have something to prove with not getting close to Golden Boot this year. And they actually might just push on and get 20 goals plus for each of them. So that's my hope. But I agree with you. They need to be rested sometime, or change tactics and play a diamond and play 2 of them. Bring in Shaqiri every now and again, or bring in Brewster, just to make them think a little bit. Because what they are getting to is a point where they know that they are selected before the game starts. And that's also not that good. I mean, Pep does it well, but too much roulette. He does it well with keeping the guys on their toes, not knowing if you're starting that week. The way he plays with Jesus, Aguero, Sterling, Bernardo Silva. I mean, the luxury of riches that he has allows him to do that. But I do think we've got good enough players on the bench that every now and again you should rest the Mane for 2-3 games just to get his hunger back, Salah and Firmino. And I think that maybe Klopp surprises us and he actually does that this year. Who knows?
Well, I guess we're going to find out. So while we find out about those things, obviously the 2 of you FPL fanatic kind of things. I'm green. I mentioned that in the teaser trailer for the sportscast. So, what type of advice would you give to a newbie? Let's talk goalies. If you're about to get, because there's obviously two positions that need to be fitted. Wait. Let's work on a formation. Is there a preferred formation for FPL?
Jeremy, can I start?
Yeah, sure.
Leighton, on my side, it's pretty much what you believe in, the formation you like to play. For me, I've always been on the belief that I want to play a 3-5-2. I've always liked to pack my midfield with stars and put in two strikers only. And I've always thought the lottery of only having three defenders and attacking defenders, to say, is better than having four. I mean, if you think about clean sheets, the top defenders this year only kept 16 clean sheets and 17 clean sheets. So it means half their games they've already conceded. So why go and invest all that money on a non-attacking defender and play four defenders when you can get attacking returns from midfielders and strikers? So for me, 3-5-2.
3-5-2. Jeremy?
I think most of my season was 3-5-2 as well, but I'm very adaptable. So, Andreas, just to surprise you or shock you, I took 112 points hit for the season. And when you look at Joshua Bull, the guy that won, he took 0 hits. 0 hits. A mathematician from Oxford won the overall thing.
When you say a hit, what does that mean?
So that means when you make an additional so you get a free transfer, and then for every additional
free
transfer
win. Every week.
Every game week you get one free transfer.
Okay.
Thereafter, you take a -4 out of your allotted points, and you allow them to transfer as many, but you will pay -4 for each of those transfers. So in the total season, I took 112 hit. So if you
that is.
Yeah, so I was quite maverick.
58 transfers.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
No?
so if you add that on to my overall total, it would be right at the top, in the top 100 in the world. So, but again, it's not about that. So I'm very aggressive, and I change, and I whatever's happening, I'm very fluid in the way that I manage. So I'm not set in my team. I don't get stuck. I wildcarded in game week 2, by the way.
Listen, for a guy that's, I can't say anything to you from the position you ended in. So well done, kudos.
So I was so green. Sorry, Andreas. I was so green that my team was all wrong. I got 104 points of the first game week, thanks to Sterling. And then game week 2, my team was stuffed. So then I wildcarded and I brought in Timo Pukki, hat trick against Newcastle. How's that for a Newcastle supporter?
Now tell me, were you happy?
Because I was competing individually, yes, I was. Okay. So I do pick players against my team, and that's a tip that Leighton for you.
Wow!
I do pick players against my team. I'm not that loyal, but this season, Saint Maximum, he's starting. I'm going to have him. He's at a great price of 5.5. So, but overall, to answer your question, I'm very fluid. I switched a lot, and then I went off to 3-4-3 for a lot of the season as well. That's when we had Vardy destroying teams. So
absolutely, there's no winning formula. I like 3-5-2 because for me, I like that extra point that a midfielder gets you for the goal, for the clean sheet. So, I mean, those little points at the end of the season all add up. So that's why I go for it. And I must be honest with you, with the way Robinson and Alexander-Arnold are going, and now with Chilwell at Chelsea and stuff, I think you're going to see some great defenders getting a lot of assists.
Okay.
Doherty just signed for Tottenham today. So the Wolves, the second highest scoring defender in the game, just signed for Tottenham.
Is it gone over the line already?
Yep.
That's a great signing.
Will his price now go up? Will the value? What you say?
That
no, it won't. It's set.
See,
it doesn't matter.
So I wasn't sure. I think he'll stay at 6.
Okay.
But I don't understand.
How do you know? Is he in your team? Eh?
I had him in my first draft, but he's not anymore.
Okay.
But I don't understand where he's going to fit in. Where do you think, Andres? Because with Serge Aurier on that side, on the right-hand side, and that's where he's played most of the time for Wolves, I don't know. But the other thing as well, they got him for 20 million, I'm told. Rock bottom. COVID pricing.
I don't think you buy Doherty to bench him. I'm quite surprised. I don't know why Aurier gets the flack he gets. I actually was an Aurier. He was in my team for most of the season. He gets so many bonus points and assists, and I don't understand why he gets so much flack. I know he's erratic and he can get a red card every now and again, but going forward, he's fantastic. So maybe Maybe Mourinho wants 2 brilliant right backs that can compete with each other for the place. But for me, Doherty has to start. So unless Aurier is going to move over to the left side and come in, Doherty's got to be a starter if it's over the line.
First week I had Aurier in, red card for me. I never brought him in again the rest of the season.
Okay.
So your question is, so you looked at the format. So anything else?
I was looking at the format, and I mean, obviously, this is just a few mathematical things when I was looking at points to players or cost to points. 4-3-3 landed up being something that I found to be probably the most economical way to run your costs, to bring your costs down, to get good players in. So 4-3-3 was what I landed up with. But again, you guys are telling me 3-5-2s and all other things. So
Leighton, there's no right way. I mean, some people will tell you choose the 2 best keepers that will keep clean sheets. Other people will tell you don't waste money on keepers. The 2 cheapest ones, they're going to make saves. So that's the beauty of Fantasy League. It's preference. It's how you play it. It's one thing works this year, it doesn't work the next year. But more often than not, I mean, I'm not going to give away all our secrets that we've got here, but I've got a way that I pick my team.
Okay.
And for me, that's pretty much how I go. The first thing I do, by the way, is I
you better share with us. Otherwise, you shouldn't be in.
I register my team only 2 days before, because I don't look at it before that. Because if I do, I change it 5 million times, and I probably revert to the team that I chose first. So it drives me mad. So I wait till the Friday, Saturday, but then my wife knows that day is fantasy day. So I make sure I get my first team correct, and I make sure that I try and pick a team, and this is my tip. I try and pick a team based on fixtures and which teams have the best fixtures for the first 5 to 7 games.
Okay, 2 things. You say your wife knows that that's your fantasy day. Did your wife not get pulled into this?
She did, but she got pulled in because she wanted to beat me.
Uh-huh. How did she fare?
Pick her name. So my name is Fumu. She named her team the real Fumu because she says she gives me all the good tips. So I said, okay, if you give me all the good tips, come and challenge me. She fared very well, by the way. She fared very well.
Did she
not
beat you?
Me. No, she did not, but she did fare very well. Leighton, I don't look that far
down. Come on, points. Points. How many points was it?
Probably 150 behind.
150 behind. That's as far as you were behind first position in the world, AJ?
Yeah.
Sure. So 150 is a couple of positions, eh? Did you land up giving her the tips then at the end of it, Andreas?
To be honest with you, she didn't want them.
Really?
She just really wanted to beat me.
And this season, is she in again?
Yeah, she is actually.
Does she also want to be there just to beat you again?
Okay, so
I'm not gonna.
So she listens. If she listens to this podcast, then I'm certain you're going down.
She's going to back. She's going to back Big J. Nice.
Tip for free.
Let's see, guys. Let's see.
Quick question. Back onto the keepers. Nick Pope, does he do it again 2 seasons in a row?
It's too expensive.
No, it's too expensive.
At 5.5.
Did you just hear us later? We both said it at the same time.
It's too expensive.
Can both of you be wrong at the same time?
So he started off at 4.5 last year, which was a value. I had him in my team from game 1. So it worked. But now at 1 million extra, that money can be used. And the midfield is so expensive this time around, you need to free up the cash for your midfield.
Okay, so which keepers are we looking at? Like, if you have to give me about 3 keepers that you think are half decent.
Up until we go to team reveal, I'm glad to share. I know Andreas is a bit afraid right now.
Don't be afraid, Andreas.
So Eaton at Aston Villa is injured. So Nyland is available at rock bottom 4, but he's a crap keeper. Then we have McCarthy, who I'm looking at McCarthy from Southampton. And then Ramsdale, Ramsdale I think is coming at 5 as well. So again, too expensive. So I'm off the cheap school. So 4.5 for your starting keeper, and then for your reserve keeper at 4. And then when we get into double game weeks and using chips, and then I'll probably look at getting a better keeper. I am looking at Martinez to see whether he starts ahead of Leno on Sunday.
Okay. So that's a good one, by the way. Looking if Martinez starts ahead of Leno, I will tell you that I won't. He's a braver than I am. I will go probably for 2, 4.5, 4.5 goalkeepers, 2 starters for their clubs. Probably 2 of the promoted teams, possibly Matt Ryan. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Not Matt Ryan, Matt Ryan. Boys, interesting times. Okay, so.
I just feel, just to add to what Jeremy's saying, his basis is absolutely correct in a perfect world. But the amount of injuries that are going on right now and the lack of football to have keepers as well, to have one keeper, there's nothing worse than having a freebie that you can pick two keepers and your only keeper that plays gets injured.
Okay. So based on last season, points per game, wasn't it Tottenham, Loris, that came through?
So he was injured. He was injured. So Gazaniga played for a bit of the season. So Loris, when the games that he did play, but Tottenham's defense before Mourinho got there was quite shocking. So he was saving a hell of a lot. I think overall, but no saves is Dubravka, my Newcastle boy. But again, too expensive. So I'm of the school that you got to come in at the 4.5 keeper.
Okay.
Those premium keepers tie up money.
And how important is that 1 million? Can that 1 million be to you?
This season it's going to be so Aubameyang, who was a forward last season, has been reclassified as a midfielder,
which is ridiculous,
at 12. So if you want, and earlier on we had a discussion around having those 5 players only in your squad, being Oba, Mane, Salah, KDB, Sterling. You can't. That's the dream midfield to have, but you can't afford it the way that the game is structured. So you've got to pinch. So I'm right now. My squad is so. The biggest mistake I made last season, I'm repeating it now and deliberately. I don't have TAA in my team because I'm putting the money into my midfield and into my front line. I have the most dynamic midfield and front line that you can imagine going into game week 1.
Jeremy, it's a good thing that we've known each other for years, because if anybody had told me, now I'm back into the fantasy and I am a Liverpool supporter, if you don't put Trent Alexander in your team, you would be dead to me. Because I don't understand it. I've got him game week 1 captain already.
Yeah, so he hurt me. Against Leicester, I didn't have him. I had a choice between Robertson and Trent going into the game, and Robertson was 0.1 cheaper, and I didn't want to spend the 0.1 for TAA.
Wow.
And when he had that 27-point return, I cried. And yeah, I'm going against. I just need the upside.
Jeremy?
Yeah, Andreas.
You're going to cry again.
I'm planning an early wildcard, I think.
Because Trent is the new Leighton Baines in Fantasy League.
No, definitely.
So if you
hear that, Leighton Baines, right?
From Everton.
If you're looking at Trent Alexander-Arnold, just think logically. He's going to take nearly every free kick, nearly every corner. We attack with, and we will score goals. And more often than not, we will keep a lot of clean sheets. So it is a choice. It's Robinson or Trent. And actually, having said that, for $1 million cheaper, I think Van Dijk was only a few points behind both of them.
Yeah, but points per game, he hit 4.7, Van Dijk. Trent hit 5.5, I see. Now, the last season's, obviously, points per game, man on top, Marcos Alonso. He was actually more points per game than any other defender.
He didn't start. Yeah, with
Yeah,
Chilwell.
so
There's Chilwell and Emerson that can play in that role, and then they rotated most of the season as well. So, and the Chelsea defense is still shocking. So we'll see if Thiago comes in, and so they've just signed Thiago Silva on a free. So we'll see if Thiago Silva comes in and strengthens that defense.
for me, Lampard has done a lot right. Not playing Alonso, he's one step that he's done wrong. Alonso transforms them on attack. I know people say he doesn't defend that well, but in Fantasy League, if he plays and starts, he's gold. I don't think he will anymore. I think he's probably going to leave the Premier League before the end of the season, before the start of the season. But Alonso, that it makes perfect sense to me, Leighton, actually, because every time he plays, he's points.
Mm. But he doesn't play a lot, so it's a risk. It's a gamble that you take. And now with Chilwell in, they paid $50 million for Chilwell. So
he's not going to.
He's going to be the first choice left back, and Azpilicueta and Reece James are competing on the right hand side for Chelsea.
Chilwell's pretty cheap. Then I say he's pretty cheap. I mean, Trent's 7.5, but Chilwell is coming in at 5.5. But isn't he injured, or is it showing here?
So the challenge will be to fit a 7.5 Trent and then anyone else over 4.5 in defense.
Over 4.5. So what is the going price that you guys would say?
So I got no Liverpool in my defense as well.
Sure, poor decision. I mean, you're the professional here, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to help you.
So at
you
the beginning,
get everything right.
So at the beginning of last season, the first 10 or 12 games, Liverpool, I think they had 3 clean sheets.
Yeah, but
I celebrated.
We had Adrian Adrian in as keeper.
So when that changed, so towards the second half is when I brought my Liverpool boys in. But in the beginning, I didn't have them, and that was a bit of a differential for me.
Jeremy, I'm going to give you food for thought. Would you rather have a 7.5 million midfielder that plays for mid-table team, or Trent with the amount of opportunities Liverpool make, even if we're going to concede goals?
So it would be easier to answer if I could show my team, and I'm going to just reveal my front line for you. So
no, please don't.
So to give context,
something, some
it could change. It could change because Kai Havertz has just signed for Chelsea as well. So I'm playing 3 up front, and it's 3 premiums in the front with behind that with Salah and Aubameyang. So you can figure out who the 3 premiums are I'm starting with. So the upside, so a hat trick from either one of those ones versus a goal and assist from Trent. The ceilings, and that is one concept that I definitely value in FPL, is I always choose the player with the highest ceiling. So I'm basically to Andreas's point, I'm not swapping and giving up in terms of opportunity cost Trent for a midfielder. I'm giving Trent up for a premium previous Golden Boot winner striker, or even current Golden Boot winner. So that's the upside. So those guys get a hat trick on game week 1, and then I could look at getting Trent in on my wild card, which probably is going to be early due to the fact that Man City and Man United don't have games in game week 1.
Okay. I did see something about Tottenham. Apparently, 9 games in 22 days or something like that, or 7 games in 22 days.
I haven't had a look at Tottenham.
Something like that.
I haven't had a look at Tottenham's schedule. They do have very good. The first 3 games going in, the fixtures look good for them, defensively specifically. So, but when I looked at Doherty going in, as well as Dyer could be into the Tottenham team from a defensive point of view. And we don't know, question mark on Tanganga. But Mourinho's playing a defensive brand of football with Tottenham. So I would only look at, from a Tottenham point of view, look at Harry Kane and Heung-min Son.
Dude, what a goal last season.
Goal of the season.
Sure.
What a player. Never mind what a goal.
Absolutely
what a player.
Fantastic. But yeah, that Doherty, you guys keep talking about him. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Put him into my initial squad. Have I made a poor decision there? Because he was still at Wolves when I made that decision.
He'll be the outlet. He liked his outlets. He liked Aurier going forward. He attacked everything from the right side. And I think with Harry Kane, he likes putting in crosses. Doherty will do that. He'll run. He's got an engine. He'll get in. He likes a good shot as well. If I'm not mistaken, out of all defenders last season, he had more shots than anyone else, Doherty.
Yeah, he did. Shots in the box. Yeah, he was top. But then how are you going to fit in Trent and Doherty into your team?
Asking me on my 4-3-3.
6 and 7.5. That's a lot of money for big at the back.
So my thinking is different to yours, Jeremy. Imagine you have Trent, you don't have Trent. Imagine you don't have Trent because you've got premium forwards, and he scores in the first game, scores in the second game, scores in the third game, and he's 8 million after 4 weeks. Then you just can't get him.
I've got I've played. So I had my team value is very high throughout the season. So I play almost a transfer game as well, a game within the game. So team values, especially if I play my wild card, I tend to then make transfers to build squad value. So as soon as a player, and sometimes if you've got a United board, or in the case of Trent, they're going to have 2 price rises in the week. So you buy them early, you buy them low, and you sell them high. So it's kind of playing like the stock market. So I did that a lot for.
But even in the same week, no.
When there's a lot of transfers. So if there's a hat trick, for example, for Jamie Vardy, he will. Bruno Fernandes last season, when they brought him in, he had almost 3 price rises in a single game week. So you can build value in that. But overall, I think my analysis when it coming to Liverpool, as I said, with the precursor to the charity, Liverpool looked tired. They didn't look that great exiting the season. Okay. In pre-season, they're not looking that great. They went down, I think it was 2-0 2 days ago in the friendly as well. Trent is not training at the moment, so game time and rest. So So
Jeremy, they drew, by the way. They came back from 2-0 down.
They did, yeah. Brewster got 2, yeah. So my overall ethos with it is pick the top 6 teams, players from the top 6 teams and teams that are going to score a lot. And then you from the, and somehow, as I said, even the bookies. So I use the bookies actuaries that they do the calculations, and I use the bookies to say if they know something and if they've worked out the risk mitigating the risk there, let me lean towards that. So right now, Man City is favourites to take the league, with the bookies putting Liverpool as second favourites. So I'm leaning towards that. Trent could come. He's hurt me before.
And he'll hurt you again.
And he probably will. That's going to be the one. So every single team, on the template teams on Twitter, every single team has Trent. Trent is on everybody's team, and I don't follow the crowd, being a Newcastle supporter as well. So I don't follow the crowd. So I may change. Maybe Andreas has convinced me come game the night before, hour before deadline, I may change. But right now, I'm very happy with my front 3 and my midfield. I'm going for a very strong 7.
Sure, because you're right about Trent. Trent comes in at 56.5% of teams have got him in currently. Second highest, Van Dijk, 23.4. Yes, Andreas.
The biggest tip I will give all of you for this week is...
Andreas, we've lost your audio. While we wait for Andreas to get
I'm
his
sure he's
audio
talking about the
back up.
transfers and the Twitter speculation.
Am I back?
Sorry,
Sorry, did you lose?
Yes, your tip was?
My tip is stay away from Chelsea players.
Sure. Okay,
Sure.
That's some bad advice.
Sure.
Or it's some good
I'll tell
advice.
you why.
But okay.
Let me tell you why. It's the Man City curse. Stay away from them for the first 5 weeks to see who actually starts and who actually plays. Then start putting Chelsea players in.
So I haven't watched much of RB Leipzig, so I didn't, and everyone spoke about Timo Werner. So I'm FPL and English football obsessed recently. So I haven't watched it, and I decided to look at the highlights package, the 28 goals from Timo Werner and the goals that he scores. I mean, it's incredible. So yeah, there's me giving one giveaway that I have, and I'm afraid of what. And,
Don't be afraid.
And Chelsea have Brighton. On the first game week. So and Brighton's been poor defensively. So
the reason I give you my tip is I know you've played it for 1 season. I've played it for 10. And doesn't mean that I'm going to be right here, but I'm saying more from a strategic point of view to stay in the game. When a manager has so many luxuries coming into game week 1 and you haven't seen their preseason games or you don't know who's starting, I just don't see him making such a quick overhaul and putting in all the new stars. I think he's going to start with his tried and tested, with Giroud, Mount, and maybe bring in 1 star, and then the next one, integrate them in a week later and a week later. I think we'll only see the real Chelsea after 5th or 6th game, if I'm honest.
Okay, now those wise words, I'll take that under consideration. But I'm very big on Timo right now.
No, I'll tell you which Chelsea player though. Chelsea player I'm big on, Christian Pulisic.
He's injured.
He 50% chance of starting to play. Now, how do you guys play that risk?
You don't.
Don't, eh?
Don't.
Just don't do it, eh?
Yeah, because he probably, worst case, he comes on after 60th minute for 10 minutes to give him a run and to give him some game time, and you're going to get 1 point for that.
That sucks.
So Jeremy, that alludes to what I was saying. When that Chelsea team is fully fit, and you look through that midfield, picking a fantasy league team, how do you know who starts? It's going to drive you mad on a Saturday morning when you've picked Pulisic when he's fully fit and then he's benched that week, and Timo Werner sits bench at 9 million. It's going to drive you mad.
It's the same. So that's the thing I'm with Pep that I've learned to come to terms with, and then obviously to pick, because I think Mahrez is the second highest assists for the season last year, and you gamble with it because Mahrez comes out. If he comes off for you that day, then he's hauling with 2 goals and an assist, or 2 assists and a goal. So but I can't see them spending that money on Timo Werner, and considering how poor Tammy has been and Giroud's inconsistency as such, I can't see them not starting Timo Werner. Kai Havertz, probably, we don't know. Ziyech, we don't know. But up front, I can't see them not starting Timo Werner.
I must agree with you there. I think he is the one, a dead certainty, that will start. And those are the famous last words of a fantasy league manager.
Absolutely. Well, Pep, Pep listens to these type of things, and he makes sure he goes against it just to punish you.
I actually think Pep has his own team. He's just got a different name. and then he captains who he says is going to play that day.
I'm certain of it. He's hurt me a few times last season as well.
Or maybe you were just ahead of him, and he was a little bit upset with you. So who knows? Okay, so you guys are generally, both of you have gone with the 3 for the defense.
Yeah.
Into the midfield, you guys like a 5.
Well, I'm starting off right now with a 4, because I've got 3 up front and I've got 3 premium up front.
Yeah,
Andreas?
Leighton, I like a 5. I probably have 2 premium guys in the midfield, 3 probably the best of the rest type teams. So if I can say it, like a Grealish from Aston Villa, if that's the way West Ham's saying it, maybe Leeds as attacking midfielder, and then one of the teams that showed a lot last year, like Trossard, something like that, so that I can afford premium across the board.
Okay. And out of your team?
So
the
dynamics.
The big guys?
So what I did last season. And what made it easy for me was that we had the Golden Boot tie, 3-way tie with Aubameyang, Mane, and Salah. So past behavior dictates future behavior, and law of averages and reverting to mean is something that I'm a firm believer in.
Right.
And when I knew that Salah was going to try for Golden Boot and Aubameyang, so I try to keep to that. Is that somebody's form is not going to go off a cliff, considering they're playing in the same team, the same format. They're not going to dip off that badly. And with Salah as an example, he had a 300-point plus season 2 seasons ago. He's been the top player for 2 seasons, and last year just got pipped by KDB. So those type of high pedigree players, you got to have them. So Salah's going to be in the team. And now Aubameyang, I think he's kicking off against Fulham. So Aubameyang, Fulham game week 1, playing in midfield, getting the additional goal point as well as the defensive point. And he finished the season very strong. So Oba for me in the midfield. Saint Maximum, which I alluded, and then Diego Jota. He's now been reclassified from a forward into a defender at 6.5. So he's the one. And then I'm giving my squad away here. And then there's this Cameroonian guy, Anguissa. Well, I must hear how the commentators pronounce his name.
Sure.
They put him out at Villarreal on loan. Villarreal's offered Fulham, or was it West Brom? They've offered them 22 million COVID deal, and they've refused it. Real Madrid's been interested in him, and he comes in at 4.5.
Okay.
And then my front 3, I'm not going to reveal my front 3.
Except for Timo.
Okay, so it's 2 then.
Okay, fair enough. Though there is a player that I'll tell you what, though, I don't see that he necessarily performs as well as I think points should, as many points as I believe he should get. Adama Traore for Wolves. Man drives that Wolves team at times, almost single-handedly. But why don't we see points for things like that?
I think sorry, Andreas. I think his game time is a concern. So he either comes in as an impact player, and then the problem lies as well is he's crossing over to Jimenez, and Jimenez generally is a 1 goal or 2 goal. What I've seen of him last season, his max is 2 goals. So that coming across. But Doherty and Traore played in the same channel, and they've alternated roles. And at some stage, Traore at the beginning of the season started at left back for Wolves. So he's pushed up further, but I see Nuno Santos using him as an impact player. But now with Doherty going, maybe Traore gets more game time. And Wolves has got 2 other, Daniel Podense and Pedro Neto, both at 5.5. I think they are lurkers. If anyone's listening and wants to look for some value, I'm not sure on game time, so we'll look at the preseason games to see how often they start. But those 2 guys, they really look decent, and their value could grow. Andreas, I know you haven't looked at prices. Grealish is at 7 this season.
Yeah, no chance. I'll have him in. He was just an example of what I was pointing out. To be honest with you, just to add on to Traore, I'm a big fan, by the way. I am a big fan, but I think he's an impact player, and I think he's still raw. I don't think he's as good as he should be. He drives past teams and he drives past players. His final ball often leaves a lot to be desired. And I think Wolves are going to have a 3rd season hiccup. I don't think they're going to be in trouble, but that team plays the same way, the same 11 to 14 players play week in, week out. They've been found out a little bit Doherty was a big driving force to them doing well. They rely a lot on Jimenez's goals. So I'm actually staying away from Wolves players for now. I don't think they're going to have a great start to the season. And like I said, that is one of my tips. I actually pick the fixtures over the players for the first 6 weeks.
Okay.
Then I put those players in.
So first couple of weeks, have you looked at the fixtures yet? Have you spent much time there or not really?
As I said, I haven't, but that's a tactic of mine because otherwise it will drive me mad. I do have a job and I've got other things that I have to do for now.
Like what?
And I just I just change my team all the time. So I leave it to the Friday before, and then I literally go through all the different scenarios. It's not rocket science. I do the same thing that I do every year. If it works for me this year, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I've seen the gems. I already see I know which premium players I want. As Jeremy said, like for me, Salah's a no-brainer. Even though he didn't get top points, he always creates the most chances. He always seems like he's going to get a double haul. So stuff like that I'll go for. And then I look at the best of the rest in terms of the cheaper players. I've spotted a cheap defender that I think is going to get attacking returns, a nice midfielder. And I think one guy I will take a punt on from the start is Harry Kane. I think he will score goals for Tottenham this year.
What about Danny Ings for Southampton?
Too expensive.
Southampton's fixture is not too bad. Danny was a big part of my success last season. So I got him early before he went on that run. So Danny did well for me.
Is he too expensive?
No. Well, no. I don't. I'm not. The prices don't scare me generally on players. It's just that. What I have for the first few games, I can't fit him in. Getting the premium strikers that I have to fit in Ings ahead of them with the fixtures. I probably Ings will come in later when I change the formation, but right now, Werner up front, I don't have space for Ings.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. So a lot to sorry about that. A lot to think about for the coming week.
So just one tip that I've picked up. So it's called a price point selection. So that and I'm going to try and apply it to not take as many hits as I did previously. Is whereby you put in a player that can be easily rotated to the same price point. So normally if you had last year you had Aguero starting up front. When you need to get a premium midfielder in, you've got to do 2 transfers minimum to be able to afford to downgrade Aguero to get somebody else in, and Aguero either got injured. So one of the key strategies that I would like to share is that you try and make sure from the various price points, so 4.5, 5.5, 6, 7.5 in defense, that you try and keep that price point and to create a bit of flexibility. So probably up to 8 or up to 7, so that if you need to bring in a Trent, you've got Trent is an anomaly, but within midfield as well. So currently we're going to have KDB and Sterling both at 11.5.
That sounds ridiculous.
So you need to have some way of getting them in quickly without having to take too many hits. So something I'm going to try, because I'm maverick when it comes to hits. I don't care. And I could have done a lot better if I took a lot less hits. So I'm going to try that, and that is where I don't have. If I put into your question on Danny Ings, if I put in Danny Ings at 8.5, I need to find 2 million to bring in Aguero or Harry Kane. Should I need that? Then it's not a straight swap.
Okay.
I like that, by the way. I've learned something there. I quite like that thinking, especially when you are trying to just swap a striker or a midfielder, that you've got that 11.5 to do the straight swap.
Yeah, so there are a few other players that have tried that. I've come across it, so I'm going to see how long I can keep that
maintain
up.
Something like that.
Because you've got Harry Kane and Aguero both at 10.5. So if Spurs are going a good run, you have Kane in, and then when it swaps around, you just swap Harry Kane and Aguero like for like. Salah and Mane both at 12.
Okay. Can I give you guys my tip 2?
Yeah, sure. I thought it was play the fixtures, but okay, you can throw in a second tip. I don't mind.
Okay, tip 2, don't use all your money. Just because they're expensive doesn't mean they're going to get all the points that week.
Okay, so from the Killer Man, don't use all your money. From Big J, price point selection. Okay, so that...
Generally, I've left 2 million in the bank for my first game week going into the second game week.
Do you get interest on it?
You don't get interest on it, but normally there'd there'd be flexibility to make a great signing the next week and catch people out that they can't do now. All they've got to do with a -4, which puts them on the back foot straight away.
Okay, fantastic. Well, so Big J, Killerman, thanks very much for the football section of this. Andreas, I believe you're ducking out here while we dive into Formula One.
I'm out. Thanks, guys. To all the guys that are playing Fantasy League for the first time, enjoy it. For those that are playing for the 10th and 20th season, go out and do what you can do. Just try look out for the name Andreas Killer, because I am going to try and be number 1 in South Africa.
And what's your Twitter handle so we can so our channel can follow you?
It's redhot_1.
Redhot_1. Okay, so get onto our channel. We do have a bragging rights league, so it's not a money league. Make sure that you join it. I'm keen to see both your teams in there, and then we'll take it from that. Okay, let's move into the Formula One. Big J, it's you and me now. So, how does this weekend look in Belgium?
So, well, I think the big change is going to be the single race mode. So they had the rules changing. The rules said that they had up until Spain to utilize multiple race modes. So the party mode, the famous or the infamous Mercedes party mode, is going to be either they're going to run that mode and then give more autonomy to the drivers to control the maximum threshold that they push the cars to, or they're going to be more conservative. So I'm not sure what Mercedes takes on that. So that's going to be interesting for qualifying, because Mercedes have shot the lights out using party mode in qualification. And we saw the impact of it when Valtteri was not in the running for the victory. Then they decided to put him, change tires in Spain, and then allow him to run hot for the one lap so he could get the bonus points for having the fastest lap in Spain. So the people have alluded to the fact that once his party mode goes away, and it's been introduced to circumvent Mercedes domination. So
does it really change Mercedes domination this weekend?
Well, so I've checked the weather forecast. So there's 50% chance of rain, which is going to be fun.
Well, there's a 50% chance of no rain.
Correct. So I'm always looking. So I'm chasing for the underdog. And with Max, I'm really impressed with Max. I've been throughout. I mean, for someone's that young. I think Max is driven probably with Belgium and the Netherlands neighboring, and it's literally a stone's throw away from the two countries. I think Max has driven that track quite a bit. Okay. I haven't seen his past results at Belgium, but I think he's going to have a lot of experience on that specific track. And if the rain comes, and if the
rain comes, the track is that big that it can rain.
Correct.
Just somewhere. Now, if it is in Sector 2, the rain comes in Sector 2, that's good for Max. That's probably where he's going to utilize that the best. But Sector 1, Sector 3, that's the power hungry, that's the flat foot sectors of the Grand Prix circuit of Spa. So that's all Mercedes power all the time.
So we don't know what that's going, the impact of party mode or single mode is going to be, whether they're going to qualify and dominate qualification.
Yeah, but when I say Mercedes now, I'm now talking Mercedes engines right across.
So you're looking
through
at
the board.
Brightpoint,
a racing point.
Point.
Yeah. If they haven't been on the podium once this season, and this is, I think, the first. I really think that this is the first opportunity that Racing Point gets onto the podium. I know their race days haven't been as good as it could be. But with that Mercedes power on the track that is flat out for a large amount of time.
No, I can't disagree there. I can't disagree. It'll be interesting to see what the track temperatures would be as well, because having just gotten back into F1 after a couple of years break, I was shocked to see that the temperatures, especially at Silverton, what it did and how it changed the dynamic of the race. So if the track temperatures increase, then it'll be a fun Grand Prix to watch. But however, saying that, it seems with the inflation and the tire pressure, because I remember Lewis asking what is the tire pressure on the other car and why were they not getting those blistering on it, and there was I believe it's governed, but I think Mercedes have done something differently, because the last two races they didn't seem to suffer as badly with the blistering.
Could it be the circuits itself that they're riding?
That, as well as the track temperature. So so doing a little bit of research, I just wanted to see what the weather's like.
And what about driving styles? I say that because I remember when Jensen and Lewis used to be teammates, Jensen and his tyres. Jensen managed tyres probably better than any other driver I've actually ever seen.
Yeah, I was having just come back. I was trying to look to find a similar driver now that has the same tyre management skill. It seemed it's in Spain, Hamilton drove within himself. Even on the radio, Max has said he's driving so slow. He's holding me up at a stage because Max kept on getting into that dirty air behind. Sure. And so I think Hamilton used a strategy then of just slowing it down in terms of keeping the tires going. So yeah, interesting. Mercedes have done quite a lot of development and all the modes and all the technology going into it. So if they can take that away or even the playing field a little bit, then driver skill comes to the fore. And as I said, I'm a big Max fan, and that's my tip for the weekend.
So
is
Max for the weekend.
Max to take the win, and if we want to take the double Arsenal onto Max,
okay,
we'll look and see how that goes.
Fair enough. We'll check that out, and in the show notes, I will put Jay's tip for the weekend. Arsenal 3-1 correct score. You're going to 2-1 correct 2-1. Score on to Max Verstappen for the victory at Spa. Yeah, I on the other side, I don't see anybody beating Lewis. The question that I thought to myself is, how many people can Lewis lap on the way to victory? How far will he go up? Will he lap everyone up until fourth? I thought.
I'm always with the underdog. So even in the two bets as well, Liverpool's going to be outright favourites for that match, as well as Max.
I think they're 6-10. Liverpool.
Lewis. I can't believe. I think Lewis is about 4-10 or 5-10. If I looked at it for outright win, I can't believe in a Formula One race with such unpredictability that Lewis is that short.
Especially the first corner. La Source has has a history of many incidents.
Yeah, so qualification will be fun. So I'm looking forward to spending the weekend watching the qualifying to see what happens there. But yeah, so I've gotten back into F1 a little bit.
Nice. And then for my outside as I've said, I do think Racing Point have probably the best chance that they've had all season to get onto the podium, and I think Sergio pips Lance Stroll. Now look. Lance Stroll, the team is owned by his dad. They own Aston Martin, I believe, as well. Or his dad owns Aston Martin, or a big share in Aston Martin or something, whatever it is. So, Golden Boy, he's not losing his seat to anyone, right? Sergio Perez still is, as far as I can see. I mean, after the years, the pedigree as a Formula One driver, Perez has it, and I think we're going to see him on the podium. I think it's a 1-2 Mercedes. Unfortunately, again, it isn't necessarily that Lewis is that much better than everyone else. For historically over the past, since Red Bull came in, the Vettel years, it has been and continues to be a constructor type thing. It's the car first, and then the driver is an added bonus. Because if you had to take Lewis out of the picture, Valtteri Bottas not necessarily. He doesn't look like he has the same drive to be a Formula One world champion. But if Lewis wasn't there, and he was the only Mercedes driver, it looks like he would end up winning the championship.
It does become a bit. I mean, watching the years when Michael raced, and even when Vettel dominated, it becomes a bit monotonous.
Is the midfield more exciting?
Well, I love watching Albon.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
okay.
He qualifies so crap, and then all of a sudden he makes his way through the pack during race time. So Albon's been a fun watch for me in the last few weeks. It's a bit disappointing knowing that he's got the same car as Max, and Max qualifies generally in the top three on the grid. So yeah, Albon has been quite a fun watch.
Is Red Bull tailored towards? Is Red Bull tailored towards Max Verstappen, or?
Well, guaranteed. I mean, he's the golden boy at the moment. I mean, he's incumbent to Lewis. So when Lewis steps out, whoever's dominating that, whichever constructor is dominating, that's the first signature they're going to get. Maybe Ferrari's looking for a revival in the next 3 or 4 years. Max is going to be that guy.
The Ferrari engines just aren't there. Jeremy, if I may just interrupt you here for a second. I want to talk about the track. They've gone through La Source, down Manicures, all the way up, and they're chasing into the first DRS zone. But already on the way that it looks like the aerodynamics this year is slightly different than the cars last year. It almost looks like there's less, or you get the feeling that you can get a little bit closer. So how important DRS is, it's going to help. It's going to help immensely once it is enabled. But even already on first lap, by the time you hit that first chicane, and I think when we get into that first chicane, I can't see the Red Bull getting down that straight while everyone is tight in front of the Mercedes cars. And when I say the Mercedes cars, again, Mercedes engine cars. So how do you see that Max gets past the...
So Max, last Grand Prix, Max jumped Bottas, but Bottas lost two places. I think he lost to one of the Racing Point guys as well that took him on the outside. So I'm going to put my neck out and say that without the party mode, I don't see the dominance of Mercedes in qualifying. So if that happens, we could have it split, and that's what Formula One needs. You can't have the Mercedes up front dominating. So if it's split, Max and maybe Lewis, and then if they both got clean air in front of them, then it's a race, and most likely then Lewis has done well. I haven't seen Lewis slip up when he's on pole. So he probably will stay there, and then it's a race on. Again, I think the game changer for me is the party mode switched off. So that will change, especially for the drivers to adapt. So I'd like to see whether they keep it on and they run it and allow the drivers to gamble with the car and pushing the cars to the limits. Max will push from listening to the commentary and the pit wall talk. He wants to race. He doesn't care.
He's been interesting all season, hasn't he?
Yeah, I just wait for the team radio to come on and to hear what they're telling him and his response. So he wants to race. So that'll be quite interesting. So with regards to the downforce and the aerodynamics on there, I was shocked at Silverton and the tires. So tires plays an immense role, and depending what they carry through, and that's going to be the other thing, what they're going to use in qualifying and what they're going to keep for race day. And as I alluded to earlier, the threat of rain as well. I love a rainy Grand Prix because then you get
it's a great equalizer.
Yes, and then you get the Barrichellos of this world coming out and winning after years of no victory. So if it rains, I think your shout out originally when I saw the Twitter post and the poll for Sergio, I said no.
Not poll, podium.
Originally I said no, and then when I looked at the weather forecast and I said rain, and I see Perez's experience, especially in the top half of the grid. He's probably one of the more experienced drivers, and he seems to take care of the car. So I think it's a good call. I think it's 3-1. I think podium for Perez.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
3-1, 3-1 shout. So and that's I think Max is also 4-1. I think so. It's a good value if either one of those come through. Maybe the listeners can take that double, Max to win and Perez to podium. That would.
I think actually Max is third favorite to actually win the Grand Prix.
But I think it's at 4-1. At Silverton he was at 12, so I was keener on Hollywood when I looked earlier on. He was at 4-1, I think.
Okay, cool. Okay, then lastly, just to we're going to hop off the F1, and obviously very exciting Grand Prix coming up this season. It's probably my favorite Grand Prix of it's the old circuit. It's that it has that history to it that you just feel it. Anyway, right. Moving on, BMW Championship this weekend. I know we spoke a little bit about the golf earlier, purely at this moment in time. And this is in for the BMW Championship is actually happening as we are recording this podcast. Now, as you guys know, I'm a Tiger supporter. Tiger needs to make it into the top 4, top 6 to get through to next weekend. Do you think do you think Tiger can do it?
Well, in the past, prior to his injury, Tiger, I mean, there was no doubt in that. Post-injury, he's been a bit erratic and unpredictable. So when you write him off at your peril. So I'm certain. I just don't know what the breakaway from golf during the pandemic and lockdown has done. Interesting to see Louis Oosthuizen, South African boykie, that's up there. Is he? Oh, he's joint top of the leaderboard.
tied first right now. He's through 5 holes as at the time of this recording. So yes,
Are we able to see Tiger on there? He's
Tiger is +1 after 9, so he hasn't had the best start. Okay, so hopefully Tiger can turn it around.
Dustin's on there. Dustin?
Well, Dustin is
even
through 10. So again, Justin Thomas, these guys, they've got quality. They're a shoe-in already for next weekend. Now, to walk into next weekend with -10, starting off -10, that's what you get for first position, walking into next weekend's championship. Will Dustin push as hard this week? Because he's still going to land up with a decent handicap. It almost feels like that. There's very little that can go wrong right now for him to land up in a position where he doesn't at least play next weekend. How hard does he play this weekend? How much does Dustin want to win his first FedEx Cup? So we'll see. Though 2 players that I have liked, or that I do think has a chance for this weekend. Daniel Berger, I spoke about his strokes gained this season. I think since return of COVID, you've been speaking about the COVID return. He's probably on top for that. I think he has the best strokes gained since the return. And then other players at this weekend, Colin Morikawa, John Ram, and, well, like I said, Justin Thomas cannot be excluded. If Justin Thomas's putter is on, then we're in for something special. Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate that we're recording during the middle of an event. I'd like to actually have got ahead of it, but we will touch base next week on the BMW Championship. Again, coming into next week's.
Leighton, is this about the 3rd event since golf has resumed? I can't recall there been many more than this. So I guess a lot of the players getting the rust off. I don't think. A lot of them got a chance to go out there on the greens during lockdown in most of the countries.
Yeah, look, also this course is not a course that is generally played. This course, I think, was last played on the PGA Tour in 2003.
So no one's really got a course advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And then before that, you have to go all the way to the 19-somethings kind of thing. Jim Furyk was the last person to win this, but it was this Olympia Fields, I think it was used to win it was the US Open 2003. So yes, I think a lot of guys might on day one, try and figure out the course. A lot can happen in golf, and golf can change very quickly. I mean,
so it should be a bit of a level playing field.
Exactly. Plus the fact that all 70 players this weekend playing all 4 days, so there's no cut this weekend. So you can have a bad day and have some really good days.
So there's some hope for Tiger coming back, eh?
Well, look, I mean.
No cut off then.
If Tiger can drop a 59, no. So even if it's par today, 3 really solid days can put you in there. So he's also got still 8 holes to play, and a lot can happen in 8 holes.
Yeah, and he's come back from further off in his career, so I'm sure Tiger could do it for you. And I think a lot of fans with a bit of nostalgia would want to see him do well again, and I mean go for the record. How far is he from the majors record? Is it 2 majors?
I still think it's 2.
Is it 2?
Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever get in there again. I mean, obviously the back injuries, the injuries have destroyed his career. Obviously, the other things outside. But I'm not going to sit and criticize the man. It's always easy to throw stones. But
he might give us in the latter years maybe a British Open come and do it in his 50s, I guess. So let's hope.
Yeah, it will be nice. It is something that obviously I'd like to see. Obviously in our era to watch something like that, to see every big major champion in something. Or we've got it in the tennis. Talking about the tennis, that starts next week Monday. The US Open, and I think it's Novak is the only one of the big boys that's playing.
So no Rafa, no Roger.
No Rafa, no Roger. So Dominic Thiem is playing, Alexander Zverev is playing. So I think those are your 2 big opponents to Novak. But I can't see Novak not winning the US Open.
I wonder what his headspace is going to be like, because there was a COVID tournament and then people got infected from that. And I saw in the press there's a lot of people blaming Novak and calling him irresponsible for going ahead with it. So I wonder what that has on the player psyche. So overall,
you don't win as many majors or Grand Slams as he does without having a winner's psyche.
So overall, throughout the sports, especially when it comes to the betting and FPL and everything else, I like to take in the external factors. So you've heard me mention COVID, because things change, the dynamic changes. I mean, in football, playing with no crowds, and there's something we need to look at. I mean, the power of the Kop end in Anfield. Without that, for Liverpool to go through the season, and how often they've pulled Liverpool through. So overall, the external factors in terms of sport, it's a big thing that I like to, whenever, especially if you're taking a punt, not just the result, not just past performance, but what has impacted the player, the player's psyche. And a good example would be the Kop end. I mean, that's probably the most phenomenal. This is Anfield, and you walk out facing the Kop end, the most intimidating ground in England, I suppose. And without fans now, that could have an impact. So whenever it's a punt, or if I'm investing in sport, I always look at those extenuating circumstances, say how it changes, how it impacts. Because anyone could look at the numbers and predict. And part of playing FPL as well is looking at those nuances that changes as to why would it change the performance. So pity Andreas is not here. We could have asked the question around no crowd at Anfield.
For sure. Talking about no crowd, you know who else is actually complained, who has missed the crowd, has been the Tiger.
Well,
Tiger actually brought it up. So
sorry.
No, so with Tiger saying that, missing the crowd as well, that the crowd drove him for years.
Yeah, you see celebrations when winning or winning.
He engaged crowds. Yeah. That not many golfers engage crowd the same way that Tiger engaged crowds. And there's a reason why he's the most loved golfer.
Yo, we're going in a bit of a Tiger.
We can only hope, man. Tiger. Come on, Tiger. Yeah, so like I said, US Open tennis next week, so that's also something. I see Novak getting another Grand Slam victory. Then it's 2 for the year so far. Quite widely spaced if he happens to get the victory. I'm not sure when Roland Garros is going to go. I know it is going to happen. I'm not sure where it's going to happen, but we'll check in on the dates on that later. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us for the first LTV Sportscast. Obviously, looking forward to having you as a regular, and very interesting to see what will happen between you and Andreas as the season progresses.
Yeah, so it's a rookie against a seasoned pro, but it's almost Pep versus Mourinho. So and I'm going to be Pep and he's going to be Jose in this. So a lot of the old strategies in FPL has changed, and the more aggressive you are. So
I'm like a player manager kind of thing, just screaming for my team.
So yeah, you're doing a Rooney at Derby or Lampard kind of. But I think it'll be interesting, Leighton, if you take some of the tips and make the applications and see if the content that we do provide does make a difference. That's been the passion for me, is that I've seen a lot of friends and their teams, and they're so far off base, similar to what your team, and I'm not throwing shade at you, similar to what your team looks like this evening, and I try to encourage them, and I try to get them to look at it in a different way. So there's so much of strategy, there's so much of things that I'd like to unpack should I get the opportunity to join for next broadcast or podcast that you're doing. But yeah, it's been fun. This will be remembered, and hopefully many years down the line, looking back at day one, and we'll see where we get to from here. But thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jay. All the best. If you have enjoyed the content, please make sure to subscribe to our channel on your preferred platform. As well as if you'd like to support the show, you can support us on ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com, /Leighton TV, Leighton TV. Any support would be greatly appreciated. Catch you at the next episode.